ones fighting for the truth of what happened to John O'Keefe. And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. It just feels like no one else wants it.
And Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
And no, she didn't do it. No, she didn't do it. This is an innocent woman. She didn't do it.
I tried to save his life. I tried to save his life at 6 in the morning. I was covered in his blood. I was the only one trying to save his life.
Why'd you admit to it?
She didn't admit to it. She didn't admit to anything close to that. Nothing close to that. And you should know that.
That was like 3 or 4 times she said it.
No, she didn't.
That's not true.
She asked a question.
It makes absolutely no sense. That is the Commonwealth grasping at straws. If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck.
We have the 8 letters. We've seen them. We've read them. We are using them. The genie cannot be put back in the bottle.
Yeah, LTL true crime. We going deep in the dark. Yeah, peeling back the layers, expose the hidden mark. From the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie. Getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi. LTL true crime, unraveling the web of evil. No stone left unturned, we dive into the prime. Yeah, we digging up the dirt, bringing justice to the crime. LTL true crime, unveiling dark realities every time. Yeah, LTL true crime, we going deep in the dark. Peeling back the layers, exposing from the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie. Getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi. LTL true crime, go. We don't get live in the shine, but then I'm not talking about it in the soul. Look at the kids in the world. No can do it, you lie. Not true, it's alone. We thought it done. Yeah, we thought it died. I don't know any of those. Hey, I break down true crime. I'm done with dark realities every time. This is yeah, I break down true crime. I'm done with dark realities every time. Yeah, LTL true crime. We going deep in the dark. Yeah, peeling back the layers, expose the hidden mark. Oh yeah, from the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie. Getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi. LTL true crime. We going deep in the dark. Yeah, peeling back the layers, expose the hidden mark. Oh yeah, from the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie. Getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi. LTL true crime. We going deep in the dark. Yeah, peeling back the layers, expose the hidden mark. Oh yeah, from the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie. Getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi.
Wow, I feel like it's been forever since I've done a live. It actually kind of is been forever since I've done a live. But I want to welcome everybody into LTL True Crime. We're here on Friday night, is April 5th, 2024, and we're going to talk a lot about the Karen Reed case tonight. A lot has happened over the last week or so, and I apologize. I just have not been able to come on a live and do any updates as I've been super busy building out my new studio. I'll give you some updates on the studio, and what I have planned for today or tonight is we can go through the motion hearing the other day. Haven't even got a chance to watch that yet. I've just read articles about what's happened about the 200-foot buffer zone that Judge Bev has put into place, and I believe made the ruling in court. And that's awfully, I guess, strange, because usually she's like, I'll take it under advisement. I think it's very clear as to where Judge Bev stands in this case. She wants this indefinitely to go to trial. It's going to go to trial, but I still believe in my heart of hearts that Karen Reed will be completely exonerated from all of these frivolous charges. and it's funny because I really go over these scenarios in my head, and I just try to come to the conclusion as to how it's even possible. How is it even possible that a jury could sit up there and say Karen Read did this? You even have the FBI that has confirmed by an independent specialist that they brought in with 3 PhDs, and in their opinion, that the injuries to Officer John O'Keefe did not or had not been caused by Karen Read's SUV. The injuries are not consistent with being hit by Karen Read's SUV. I just don't know how a jury can sit there and say that she's guilty. I mean, we know this is a frame. It's a frame job. There is so much circumstantial evidence in this as well. But I think when the true facts come out, and all of this evidence that's been hidden, and we find out more in these motion hearings, that more evidence comes out. And when this gets to trial, and you have Jackson Unetti laying down the law, letting everybody know what has gone on and what the truth is in this case, I strongly believe that the jury is going to acquit Karen Read of all these ridiculous trumped up charges. All right, so my friends, what we will get into tonight is we will play through that court hearing. And then I have a segment from Vinnie Politian. And I think this is going to be really great and really interesting. And the reason that I like this video that we will go through is it's on his own YouTube channel. I'm not sure if any of you all know that he has a YouTube channel, but he does. He did this live about 10 days ago. So it's a little bit back, about a week or so. But the great thing about this is we're going to get Vinnie Politian unfiltered. There's not going to be a producer in his ear. Because you got to remember, when he's sitting in on those court TV segments, there is someone in his ear talking. And we're going to get what his feelings are in this and see, is he team Karen Read or is he team Commonwealth? So let's do this first. Let's pull up this article here. This is from Boston 25. Says judge in Karen Read's case issues 200-foot buffer zone for demonstrators ahead of the upcoming trial. And I will go through this. So it says Dedham, Mass. The judge presiding over the Karen Read murder case has ordered a 200-foot buffer zone around the Norfolk Superior Court in Dedham and restrictions on megaphones and clothing to shield jurors from outside influences. Why don't they just take him in the back door? Why don't they just take them in the back door? Judge Beverly Canoni has filed her order after a hearing Thursday morning where she said, I do find that an external buffer zone is appropriate. And what we need to do is prudent regulation in the court's expression. How is this absolutely constitutional? How is this correct? And we're going to look, can she do this? We're going to look up and for people to know their rights. We're going to look at that. It says for nearly a year now, Karen Read supporters have been gathering on sidewalks in front of the courthouse with free Karen Read signs, and clothing in her pretrial hearings have been packed with spectators. Judge Bev orders it is ordered that no individual may demonstrate in any matter, including carrying signs or placards, within 200 feet of the courthouse complex during a trial unless otherwise ordered by this court. This complex includes the Norfolk Superior Courthouse building and the parking area behind the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds building. I have an interesting map that I'm going to pull up here in a second, and we're going to talk about that buffer zone. And it's someone on Twitter made a very excellent point about that, and we'll talk about this in a second. So it says individuals are also prohibited from using audio-enhanced devices while protesting. It is further ordered that no individuals will be permitted to wear any or exhibit any buttons, photographs, clothing, or insignia related to the case pending against the defendant or relating to any trial participant in the courthouse during the trial. Law enforcement officers who are testifying or are members of the audience are also prohibited from wearing their department-issued uniforms or any police emblems in the courthouse. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to do that, Judge Bev? Well, because we know in this case that there were a lot of corrupt officers that were involved in the investigation, that were involved in the frame job. So you want to cover them. You want to shield them and put them in normal clothes. You want to take away, that they're officers of this said law in Canton. So you want to take away that shield, put them in normal clothes to cloak the fact that these officers are involved in this frame job. I just want to recognize this really quick. John Seamus, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. You have access to members only content, and you can scroll on my homepage all the way down below, and that will give you access to my members only. If you're not a member, then you are missing out on all my behind the scenes footage, and I actually will be doing a live from the studio tomorrow night to give you all updates on what it looks like. We just got it painted yesterday. Thank you so much to my friend Dennis and Jeff that went in and painted. I know they worked very long yesterday at their regular job and went in and actually painted my studio for us yesterday. And I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. I'm lazy. I wanted a professional to do it. That's what he does. So I paid him, go in, please paint the space. And they did a phenomenal job. So I'm going to be doing a live from there tomorrow night. Me and KC will be in there tomorrow night, building furniture, setting furniture up, and you'll have the first live, technically the first live from the studio, and you'll be able to see all the updates there. But if you want to take part of that, you need to become a member. Just go down below in the comment section here, and you'll be able to see the join button. You can click join, and my memberships only start at $1.99, and it gives you all the access to all that members only content. So please join down below. Anyway, let's move on here with the show here. So it goes on to say it's going to go into just basically the history of the trial if you haven't heard that. So nothing new there. We know what's going on. But I want to pull this up, and this was from Microdots. And Microdots, shout out to Microdots here. I'm wearing one of his caps. And this was interesting. I love this. And he made a great point. Says, was the buffer zone reduced to 200 feet or increased to 1,000 feet? Because what did Bev say? Bev said the parking lot behind the registry of deeds. That's a hell of a way, if you've ever been there before, where that parking area is to where the Superior Court is. And this makes a great point. Was the buffer zone reduced to 200 feet or increased to 1,000 feet? That depends on how you measure, and you can see that here. The 1,000 feet here is that parking area that's marked off, and this is 200 feet and has that buffer zone around there. That is 1,000 feet radius around that court area is a lot. And you don't want anybody near this. And I'm going to tell you, there'll probably be someone that breaks this. Someone's going to break this. I said this to my girlfriend the other night. You wait. Someone is going to break this rule. They're just salivating at wanting to throw someone in jail because of this. I'm telling you, they're salivating it. Let's see. Mary says, Bev said 200 feet from the court complex to include the parking lot as part of the court complex. Right. So that would extend it out, in my opinion, to this 1,000 feet. 1,000 feet. Because that's a hell of a distance in that parking lot to that courthouse. I've walked it many, many times. Yeah, I mean, it's goofy. Thus, you cannot park there and yank out your placards. Well, she should have said 1,000 feet then. She only wanted 200 feet. But now she threw us in that little hidden point. Well, we're going to put the parking lot in there too. We're going to put the parking lot in there too. Slid that in. Slid it into the DMs. But great map here from Microdots. Go over, follow Microdots on YouTube and Twitter to get all of your awesome Karen Reed videos. If you haven't watched any of the Microdots videos, you're missing out. Phenomenal stuff over there. So please make sure to go. So what I did is I looked at the ACLU and I looked at protesters' rights. The First Amendment to protect your rights to assemble and express your views through protests. However, police and other government officials are allowed to place certain narrow restrictions on exercises of speech rights. Make sure you're prepared by brushing up on your rights before heading out into the streets. So as an organizer, you would be an organizer. Your rights are strongest in what you are known as traditional public forums, such as streets, sidewalks, and parks. You also likely have the right to speech out at public property like plazas, in front of government buildings, as long as you're not blocking access to the government building or interfering with any purpose the property is designed for. Private property owners can set rules for speech on their property. The government may not restrict your speech if it is taking place on your own property or with the consent of the property owner. Counter-protesters also have free speech rights. Police must treat protesters and counter-protesters equally. That would be a very interesting thing. Let's just say we had some counter-protesters on the other street. I almost guarantee you they would be allowed to do what they want to do. And all the Free Karen Read protesters would have to abide by this order. I can almost see that happening. When you lawfully protest any public space, you have the right to photograph anything in plain view, including federal buildings and police on private property. The owner may set rules related to photography or video. Do I need a permit? You don't need a permit to march in the streets or sidewalk as long as the marchers don't obstruct cars or pedestrian traffic. If you don't have a permit, police officers can ask you to move to the side of the street and sidewalk to let other passers by for safety reasons. Or what to do if you believe your rights have been violated. When you can, write down everything that you remember, including the officer's badge and patrol car numbers, the agency they work for, get contact information for witnesses, take photographs of any injuries. Once you have all the information, you can file a written complaint, the agency internal affairs division, or civilian complaint board. I'm going to tell you right now, I have a very strong feeling. I have a very, very strong feeling that someone will push this. Someone will push this if this doesn't get overturned. I think it's going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. But it may not get there in time for the trial. And I think Bev knows that. Because these things take a while to process up through the courts. Just want to point this out. Cecilia, thank you so much for becoming a rookie detective. I appreciate the support. Okay, let's get on to the hearing from the other day. I have not had a time to sit down and watch it, so I'll be curious to see what happened during that hearing. And then we will get to the Vinnie Politian video, and this is about the buffer zone. And again, another total waste of resources to drag Karen Read into the courtroom. Ridiculous that she had to go there for this. And we'll play through this, see what happens. Here we go.
All right, please. Yea. All persons have any business before the Honorable Beverly Canoni, Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court in the County of Norfolk. Draw near, give your attendance, you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is now open. You may be seated.
Thanks, Jim.
Judge, this is 22 CR 117, the Commonwealth versus Karen Read. Can I have counsel identify themselves for the record, starting with the Commonwealth?
Good morning, Your Honor. Adam Lally for the
Good
Commonwealth.
morning, Mr. Lally.
Good morning, Your Honor. Laura McLaughlin for the Commonwealth.
Good morning, Ms. McLaughlin.
Good morning, Your Honor. Tanis Unetti representing Karen Read.
Good morning, Ms. Unetti. I'm told that David Unetti's held on trial somewhere else.
He is, Your Honor.
Okay. And good morning, Ms. Read. All right. So first and foremost, housekeeping. Mr. Lally, what is the status of the DNA?
So, Your Honor, the status of the DNA, as I spoke to the lab a few times over the last couple of days, they actually were able to stay late last night and finish the mitochondrial portion in regard to seeing if they were able to generate a profile from the hair sample.
Can you hear him, Ms. Unetti?
I would actually prefer, Your Honor, if you would take the
Or
podium.
just,
Fine.
yeah.
So, Your Honor, just to begin again, so I've spoken to the lab a few times over the last week or so, including this morning. So they were able to stay late last night and finish the generating to see if they could generate a mitochondrial DNA profile for the hair sample. I was informed this morning that they were able to generate a partial profile. They're still in the process of seeing if full profile can be generated, but they've begun the process of generating a profile from the sample from Mr. O'Keefe. As far as I'm a little unclear, and I responded with some questions just for clarification purposes, because I'm a little unclear of whether or not a partial profile would be something they could do a comparison with in regard to the mtDNA. And then I'm also inquiring as to, so initially what I've been told is that if they were not able to generate a profile, I would have a report on that by the end of next week, and that would essentially be the end of it. However, given this development, I'm not sure, other than they indicated that any sort of report regarding a comparison would likely be sometime after April 16th. And then obviously I asked for clarification, and I'm still waiting that as far as what after April 16th means, as far as are we talking about, you know, the week following or a month later, or what the situation is. So unfortunately, I don't have a ton of clarity, but at least I'm able to tell the court that they were able to generate at least a partial profile from the hair sample.
All right, so trial starts a week from Tuesday. I would entertain a motion to exclude the DNA. All right, so let's move on to what we have here. All right.
Wow. Bev wants to throw out the DNA. Interesting.
So I will hear from the Commonwealth on your motion for a buffer zone and for restricting clothing.
Exactly.
Thank you, Your Honor. So the Commonwealth would ask that the motion be allowed for a number of different reasons. Essentially, what I would submit to the court is that this is not, as the court is well aware, this is not a novel approach. This is something that's been done in other cases and done specifically in other cases in this courthouse. What the Commonwealth would submit is what's been proposed to the court is an entirely neutral motion, and that it applies equally regardless of viewpoint, regardless of content of signage or clothing items or anything else. The motion the Commonwealth filed is not in essence about any sort of protesters or any sort of presence in regard to them, but more about the jurors and about the jurors' freedom to be free and to come and perform their civic duty free from extraneous influence. We need in this case, obviously, as the court is well aware, a fair and impartial jury. And this is something that extends beyond just the impanelment of that jury. As the court is well aware, as the court asks questions or inquires of every jury in every case multiple times a day about whether or not that they've been exposed to any sort of extraneous influences, or if they've gone online, or if they've seen things on social media pertaining to the case. And question I would ask is, how is a juror supposed to truthfully answer that in the negative when they're bombarded with it every single time that they walk in and out of this courthouse? It's not asking for a restriction on free speech or to infringe upon someone's First Amendment right. Protesting is going to happen. That's fine. It's just where it happens and how it impacts the jury in this case is what the Commonwealth has concerns about.
This makes absolutely no fucking sense at all. I've seen, they didn't fucking hold anybody back in the Johnny Depp trial. They had everybody up there up front. You had people that, Johnny, oh my God, Johnny. I mean, I've seen hundreds of trials where they've let people out front and say, you know, the person that's accused or murdered someone, you know, walk through and had protesters out there and they're shouting, you're a murderer, you're a baby killer, you know, you're this. They allow that shit to go on outside a courthouse. How is this even constitutional? How is this even constitutional? How is this even constitutional? I mean, I was just watching, brushing up on the Aaron Hernandez trial, the one on Netflix, the docuseries about him. I mean, they were allowing people right over in the courthouse to stand out front. Oh, we love you, Aaron. We love you. We're with you. Blah, 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 blah. This is I've never even seen such a thing. This is complete bullshit. It's complete bullshit.
Wow. Another analogy I would make, Your Honor, is to voting place restrictions. Another fundamental right in which there are restrictions as far as signage and footage away from the voting place of how close you can be, that they're not allowed inside the building with signs related to whatever specific.
So here's something funny. Aiden knows right where that camera position is, and he's just just dipping past the head of Lally, where he's right on the camera and you can see him. It's great.
Candidate you're supporting. You can't go in the voting booth next to somebody, take your candidate sign and shove it in somebody's face while they're trying to exercise their right to vote. Essentially, what this motion is asking is or seeking to protect is the freedom of the jurors who are called upon to execute their civic duty unfettered from extraneous influence. We're not asking the court to restrict the media or anyone's access to the media. And I would note anecdotally that within this courthouse over the last year plus, there have been several instances in which jurors on completely unrelated cases have had to receive instructions from the court and been impacted by the activities related to this case every time that it's on. Lastly, what I would submit to the court is really any opposition, or at least the ones that I've seen as far as an amicus, essentially, the reason for the opposition is because there are parties that want to try and see if they can influence the jury inappropriately in this case. All we're asking for, Your Honor, all the Commonwealth is submitting in whatever form or modifications the court deems appropriate based on the Commonwealth's proposal. But what we're essentially asking for is to allow the jury to execute their duties in this case, both during the impanelment process and throughout the course of the trial as they're hearing evidence, and not be subjected to extraneous influences, regardless of the viewpoint of those extraneous influences during the course of the exercision of that duty. For those reasons, Commonwealth would ask that the motion be allowed.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Unetti.
Fucking Aiden. That's great.
Your Honor, I have three things that I would like to put on the record for this court. First, please note that we do not control these protesters. This has been an organic movement that arose because ordinary citizens were made aware of the case and apparently agree with us that the prosecution of Karen Read is unjust. Speaking out against injustice is a fundamental American right. My client is appreciative of the support that she has received and continues to receive, but we in no way dictate or instruct anyone to do anything. These are strictly citizens invoking their right to free speech.
Yeah.
Second, while we question whether the Commonwealth's motion is constitutional, we are taking no position on this issue. In our view, this is between this honorable court and the general public. It is between.
So, and I share your view. I think this is something that frankly could have been done administratively, but I wanted to give the defendant an opportunity to be heard. So you're not taking a position on it?
No, we believe that this is between the Commonwealth and the Constitution, and in this honorable court and the general public, and that while the ACLU has filed something, members of the public have filed something, they will speak to the constitutionality of this, and other than receiving our sympathy and our blessing, we are not joining in their argument. Again, we're taking no position, and I want to make clear that our position, our intent is and always has been that we are going to win this case inside the courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
Your Honor,
Yep.
that is what we're going to do. We're going to win this case inside the courtroom.
I kind of like that move. No matter what you do outside the courtroom, this is essentially what's going on right now. No matter what you do to the people that support this outside the courtroom, we have confidence that we will win inside the courtroom. That is a power statement. That's basically breaking it down in the layman's terms. It doesn't matter what you do to keep people away. We will win this. The supporters will continue to support, and we will win this in the courts. That is confidence. I love that power move.
And that with that, I'll waive further argument.
Okay.
It's basically a middle finger to the Commonwealth. Huge middle finger to the Commonwealth. You cannot do anything to beat this team down. We will beat you. We will show you. We will give you the truth. That's essentially what Tanis is saying.
So I have received something styled a citizen's motion to intervene. And I think criminal counsel surely knows that unlike civil, there is nothing in the mass rules of criminal procedure that supports intervention in a criminal case. But I've read the memo. I received it yesterday and I've read it. I am not going to hear from counsel. I do want to say, and quoting the appeals court, intervention is a concept foreign to criminal procedure. Now, apparently the Civil Liberties Union of Massachusetts, understanding that, filed a motion to file an amicus curiae memorandum. So that motion is allowed. And I have read the ACLU brief, and frankly, I find it very helpful, and I've been persuaded by many of the points in there. So I don't need to hear from anybody, and the ACLU.
Now, there was a lawyer that had been hired, and I believe that lawyer was there for this hearing, and maybe someone can correct me. Am I correct on that? And that's essentially why Bev said, I don't need to hear from anybody. I believe that's what I came to the understanding.
You, I think, did a great job in their
Correct me
memo,
if I'm
and I
wrong.
understand their position.
Correct me if I'm
So
right,
it's
or agree with me if I'm right.
undisputed that under our
Okay,
system
thank you,
of
Brenda.
government, the people's right to protest is, is preserved
you.
under the First Amendment, as is the free expression of their views. I have to consider, of course,
Appreciate
this
that.
very important
Thank you, chat.
constitutional right. But the bedrock principle of the trial court is assuring a defendant, it is and it must be assuring the defendant a right to a fair trial, which includes a right to a fair and impartial jury, which by definition is a jury free from any outside influence. So my focus has to be on having this jury hear the evidence and the law and decide this case based solely on the evidence and the law that is heard here in this courtroom. I have to balance the rights of protest. The law is very clear on this. Sometimes these are competing interests, but in balancing them, in weighing all the factors.
Yeah, I think this is going to get thrown out. This is going to go up to the Supreme Court and it'll get thrown out. I think that. It's just going to take a while, and she knows that. She knows that. She knows this will take a while. It probably won't even get there until the trial's over.
I do find that an external buffer zone is appropriate and that we do need prudent regulation on in-court expression.
If you knew this all along, then why wasn't this filed months or a year ago? When the supporters came, why wasn't this done 6 months ago, 8 months ago? We're going to do that now with trial. It doesn't matter. The impact has already been there. The supporters have already set the precedent down there in front of the courthouse. Believe me, they will find a way to make it still happen. We will find a way.
But the 500 feet is far too excessive. So I recognize that my obligation is that I must reasonably accommodate the rights of all people to protest in a meaningful way, while ensuring, above all here, that this case is decided fairly based on the evidence without any undue interference from outside pressures or influence in accordance with the law. And that's what I will do. So I will have a written order and a very short decision on this by tomorrow, but hopefully by this afternoon. So I will see you all next week.
That's it.
And I intend to go through all the motions in limine on Friday. I would like council to consider how you want to do impanelment. If there is a request for a questionnaire, It needs to be a supplemental questionnaire. Council need to work together. It needs to be one side, one page, two sides, no longer. Council works together, and if you cannot agree on a questionnaire, then part one of the questionnaire will be what you agree to. Part two of the questionnaire will be what the Commonwealth wants and the defendant objects to. And part three will be what the defendant wants and the Commonwealth objects to. And it must all be on one page. So I'll see you all next Friday.
That's it.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. All right, so let's go to Vinny's segment in a second. Just want to shout out to Motion VIP. Thank you so much for the 5. Says hit that like button, everyone. Night fam. Hey, have a good night. Thank you for stopping by Motion VIP. I appreciate that. I super appreciate the $5 super chat. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you all know, I do have some current merch up on my merch store, and I'll drop the link here if you're interested in supporting the channel by buying a t-shirt, but you can. And I'll have all brand new merch lined up here pretty soon. Again, my priority right now has been getting into my studio, but if you just scroll down here, it gives you all of the merch that I have available. It comes in multi-colors, and you can check all that out. I love this free Karen Reed. Karen Reed was framed sweatshirt that it came up. And on the back, Scales of Justice says, "We know who did it," and has the hashtag Free Karen Reed LTL True Crime on there. So if you're interested in doing that, you can pick up a t-shirt, a sweater, or however way you want to support. We have multi links there. You can become a member and get access to members only as well too. So all good stuff. All right, let's get to Vinnie Politian. Let's find out, is Vinnie Team Reed or Team Commonwealth? And make sure to take the poll up there. I'd be curious to see what y'all think. I think the great thing about this hour-long segment is it's Vinnie unfiltered. No producer in his ear to tell him, or he or she, to tell him what he says. Let's roll out. Let's see what Vinnie has to say. Vinnie!
Good morning, everyone. Going to talk about Karen Reed. If you don't know about this case, if you don't know about this trial, you need to know about it. This thing is scheduled to happen in April. This is unlike any case, any trial that I have ever seen in my entire career at Court TV. This one is different. It is way different. And it's actually an important case because of the way things have developed here. Significant case. Not just, oh, another case. No. This is different because of the allegations that are going back and forth on this one. Allegations going back and forth. There are two trials that are going to happen at once here. One based upon what the prosecution says happened, and one based upon what the defense says happened. And the defense has been very specific in their allegations here. Very specific. So get ready for this one. This one, whoo, gonna blow your mind. I've never seen anything like it. And just the way everything has developed and the headlines that have been coming out of this one. It's different. It's different. You've had a case where prosecutors have changed their mind on this a little bit. The defense has changed their mind on this a little bit. And it's not really clear what's going on. It is not. I have no idea what the truth is in this one. I understand what both sides are saying. I don't know if either side has it 100% right as to what happened here. But if you don't know about this case and you haven't heard about this case,
I want to go back here for a second. I just want to go back right here. I want everybody to understand, if you're just coming into this case and you're hearing about this, okay? The Haas Long to Dying Cold text at 2:27 a.m. from Jennifer McCabe was confirmed by the FBI. That did happen. That did happen. So if you're just reading about this case now, getting caught up on it, I'm not going to go into it. It will take me a very long time to explain it, but there are hundreds and thousands of streams out there about this case. You can read a bunch of articles on it. I would put you probably to TV Daily News. Check those articles out on Turtle Boy's website. That will get you all caught up. Or I would direct you to his channel and have you check out Framed. But I want you to know, if you are just catching this for the first time, 2:27 a.m., the text "Hoss Long to die in cold" did happen, confirmed by the FBI. All right, let's keep playing through.
We're going to do it right now. We're going to get you ready for that trial. Now, I'll warn you off the top. It's layered. Like there are many layers and a lot.
I just said I'm not going through all of it. I'm not going through all of it, but you can catch up. There's a lot of great articles out there.
A lot of detail and nuance to this one. Okay. And it's a trial you're gonna have to pay attention to, like each witness, each argument, and everything that is happening here. Because there's a lot of moving parts, both for the prosecution and the defense. And the way this is all developed is really, really bizarre. But it all begins with this man, John O'Keefe. He was a police officer in Boston. Boston cop, right? Classic Boston cop, John O'Keefe. Big guy, you know, tough cop, but kind of like a softy on the other side, right? And pretty amazing guy when you think about where he was in his life. So he's a Boston police officer, and he's raising his niece and nephew, right? He's raising kids because he was kind of like, okay, well, they lost their parents. I'm the closest relative. I'm going to raise these kids. So here he is as like a single man, a cop, raising kids, like something you would see like in a television show or a movie. But he was doing it. Big heart. Heard a lot of good things about John O'Keefe, but also the classic Boston cop, right? They're kind of tough. They're kind of tough. You have to be. He's a big guy too. And he had a girlfriend, and their relationship, it depends who you ask how this relationship was. Her name's Karen Reed. It's been described as they were on the outs and they were fighting and things were horrible to things were fine between these two. And there's going to be two pictures that'll be painted inside that courtroom. And you got to figure out which one you believe as a juror, as someone watching this. And then on the other hand, you've got what happened the night of this case, okay? And a couple different ways to look at what was happening. They're out. They go out for a night of fun, right? A night of drinking, and they're doing some bar hopping, and it's a cold Massachusetts night. And there's an incoming storm, right? Not the biggest blizzard of all time. That's another thing both sides don't agree on. It's like, how big of a snowstorm was this? But there was a snowstorm.
So, Charlie, if you're wondering about this, Charlie says, I'm wondering if Karen Reed will testify. I probably won't need to unless Bev does Bev and shit doesn't look good. I am going to direct you to a stream that Melanie Little and I just did. Oh gosh, it's probably over a week ago now. But let me pull up that stream, and I will urge all of you to go over and watch that. Let's see. I'm going to drop a link in the chat. You can go and watch that after the show. And we talked about that. Will Karen Reed need to take the stand? And you will hear that from an attorney's point of view. It was a fantastic stream. But if you haven't seen it, again, there is the link. Put it in your queue. Check it out. All right, let's keep playing through.
Storm coming, and it absolutely snowed. They're going bar hopping. John O'Keefe is not driving. Karen Reed is driving. Now, is she drinking and driving? I think you can say that. They've got surveillance video from inside the bars where they were. So you know that Karen Reed was drinking. John O'Keefe was drinking. And John O'Keefe, I think, took his drink with him from one of the bars and got into the car. Now, they bumped into people that they knew. It's kind of a small town, Canton, Massachusetts. And they're having a good time. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Now, were they fighting that night? The defense says no. Prosecution says, yeah, there were problems. There were problems that they were, there was some friction there in the relationship, that things weren't right. And they're going to use that, the prosecution, to try to buttress their motivation, their motive for why Karen Reed would do what she's accused of doing here. So they go bar hopping, then they bump into some friends and they're invited to an after party at a house. And it's a house of a police officer. Okay, that makes sense. All right, it's a little after party. The bars are closed down. We're all getting together at this house. Come on over. Everyone's going to be there. So Karen and John drive there. Again, Karen is driving. John is the passenger. And then once they arrive at the house, and that's where everything you're going to hear inside the courtroom takes a drastic separation, like from what you're going to hear from the prosecution and what you're going to hear from the defense. I'll start with the prosecution case because that's why we're in court. We're not in court because of the defense making allegations. It's part of their defense of the allegations made by prosecutors. And the DA says that Karen Reed and John O'Keefe are fighting. They pull up to the house to go inside, and they're in an argument, whatever. Things aren't great. And he gets out.
I think Vinny's off on that. I don't think there was ever a argument in the car. I think there was just that Karen wasn't feeling good and she wanted to go home. So she left John, dropped him off, and John went inside the house.
And she says she's not going to go into the after party. So John O'Keefe gets out.
Great point,
Karen
Casey.
Reed.
I actually haven't even heard anybody pull that up. And my wonderful girlfriend makes a great point. She says an after party where people showed up after midnight and left by 1 a.m. Why were people only there for 30 to 45 minutes? Quick after party unless something happened. Why didn't you talk? Why haven't we talked about that before? You never raised that to me. I would have been like, holy shit, that's a good point. We've never even talked about that. That's just something that that's never even come up. Oh, she just said, my sister sent that to me today, so I'll give her credit. That's a great point. Your sister's, I've never even heard anybody actually say that. There are all these streams. Excellent point. Casey's sister. All right, let's keep playing.
Then while making a 3-point turn, which I call a K turn, right? You're parked here and you pull that way, then you pull that way, then you pull that way, so you can go back in the direction that you came from. And they say, while making this 3-point turn, she purposely backed her car into John O'Keefe, knocked him down onto the ground, the front yard of that home.
Hey, welcome in, everybody. We just had a little bit of a flux here. If you could take a moment, smash the like button, I would appreciate it. We're going over Vinnie Politian, kind of raw and unfiltered on his own channel. I'm sure Vinny's going to hold back a little bit because he knows he's employed by Court TV, but I think we'll get a little bit more of how he feels in this case because there's no producer in his ear. So I thought this would be fun to go through. This is about a week ago, the stream that he did. But again, I think it's going to be exciting to see how he feels. And I'm just asking up there above the poll, 192 votes. I said, is Vinny Team Karen or Team Commonwealth? 87% say Team Karen, 13% say Team Commonwealth. All right, let's keep playing through. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
And left him there to die in the cold on purpose. On purpose. This is not originally we thought this was going to be an accidental case, right? Oh, she's drunk, it's accidental, and she didn't know what she was doing, and then she didn't admit any of it, blah, blah, blah. No, they're saying that she did it purposely. And a couple reasons why they're alleging that it's done purposely. From what I can ascertain from everything that's happened in the courtroom is that she was angry with him. She was mad. And that's sort of the motivation behind it. There were problems in the relationship. And number two, the backup cameras were working. Like, in all your cars, you back up your car, you can see what's behind you, and you boop, 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 boop. You hear the beeps, everything else. And they say they tested the car and everything was working. So,
and I want to let everybody know another point that I just made about the 227. Jen McCabe, Hoss Long, the Dying Cold, and Vinny's probably going to go through that a little bit if you're first coming here. But I want to let everybody know what the Commonwealth is saying. If you're just getting into this case, there are a lot of first-timers that watch this stream afterwards. What the Commonwealth is saying is that Karen Reed dropped off John O'Keefe, pulled up 62 feet, backed up and hammered her car at 24.2 miles an hour and hit John O'Keefe and then left him to die in the snow. That's the Commonwealth's theory. She turned around, went home, went back to his house, then woke up later that morning, drove back in a panic with two of the people that were at the party, at the after party, to find him, and then finds him. That's what the Commonwealth is saying. But I want to let everybody know, in a recent hearing, like I said, if you're just coming in this case, a recent hearing was testimony from the FBI in front of the grand jury that said they hired an independent accident reconstructionist that had 3 PhDs. And that independent reconstructionist, not hired by the Commonwealth, not hired by the defense team, hired by the FBI. And they reconstructed the accident scene using the same exact vehicle, the same conditions. And the independent expert said, in their opinion, there is no way that the injuries that are consistent with the injury on Officer John O'Keefe's body were caused by Karen Reed's SUV. That means it did not happen. It did not happen. So where did it happen? Naturally, you need to look up at that house. We know now, it is confirmed, that the injuries happened inside 34 Fairview. Did not happen by Karen Reed's SUV.
So they believe she knew that he was there in the screen. She knew what she was doing, and backed into him and left him on the front lawn to die. That's what they say happened. Karen Reed has a different story. And they've been very aggressive with it. And they've said that she dropped him off. She drove home. He went into the party. Something happened in the party. And there was some altercation, and John O'Keefe was attacked inside that house. And then his body was dragged out onto the front lawn. And from that point forward, the responding officers, the lead investigator, all conspired together to push attention away from people that were inside that house and point the finger and frame Karen Reed for this. That's the gist of it. That's the gist of it. Now, a lot of things happen. Like the next morning, Karen Reed is worried about where John is because he didn't come home. She was staying at his house. And then she calls some people who were at the party who didn't stay at the house, and she backs the car out of the garage and seems to strike another car with her right tail light in the driveway. That will be disputed whether she actually struck the car or didn't strike the car, but it's the right tail light, the same right tail light that prosecutors say struck John O'Keefe. So you see how things are starting to get complicated already. And then they finally get to the scene, and Karen Reed, according to prosecutors, is the first one to spot his body. Nobody else sees him, but she knows right away. That's another reason why they're charging her. Somehow she knew, is what prosecutors are saying. She knew because she's the one that struck him, and then runs over and says, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. So they're saying that she admits to it. She knew where he was when they arrived in the morning after the snowfall that night. And she did it all on purpose. Now she's claiming that when she got there, she found him, she no idea what was going on. And then all these other people are figuring out a way to frame her by putting pieces of the tail light on his body and doing all these
I
other.
think it's pretty hard to excuse when you are driving back to a scene where is the last place that you left someone off. I think it's very hard to excuse the fact of when your headlights come across a lawn in the middle of the night and there's a body that's laying, suffering on a front lawn of someone's house. I think it's pretty hard to not say that you would see that if the headlights hit a body of someone laying on the ground. I think it's very hard to excuse to say, I wouldn't have seen that. Of course you would have seen it. Of course you would have seen it.
Things. Now, one of the crucial pieces of evidence in the case, and I'm just giving you a thumbnail sketch of this, okay? The layers of this trial go even deeper, which is why you must watch this trial. You must watch this trial. Is that there's a Google search that is found on the phone of one of the women who's there.
That was confirmed by the FBI.
The defense says
It
the
did
Google
happen.
search is done at 2:30 in the morning. She responded like 6:30 in the morning, right? So 6:30 in the morning is when Karen Reed is there with these other people and they find John on the lawn. But the Google search is how long to die in a cold. Okay, it's spelled wrong. It's HOS instead of HOW, but how long to die in the cold is the Google search. The defense says prosecutors were hiding that evidence from them initially, and that that evidence proves that it was.
Here's something that's kind of interesting too, and I just thought about this because I'm texting it right now. How long? So the W is just above the S. If you're nervous and you're rushing the text, how long to die in cold? How many times have you done that where you're doing a text in the frantic of a moment, or you're texting fast and you hit that wrong button? Someone that's clear that would say, okay, I need to sit here and strategically write it. How long to die in cold, right? But if you're texting fast, Hoss, you're going to hit that S by accident. To me, that seems like someone is nervous. Someone is in a rush to Google something, or text something, whatever it may be on the phone. You spell that wrong. That's the way that I look at it. When you're rushing to do something, or you're nervous, or you're in a moment, you're distracted. To me, that's just a sign of someone rushing or someone that's nervous.
Wasn't her, because they claim that search is done at 2:30 in the morning. So if that Google search is done 2:30 in the morning, how long to die in the cold, before his body's even found, that means Karen Reed has nothing to do with it. It was someone in the house, because that's the phone. One of the women who's in the house doing that Google search, how long to die in the cold. It couldn't be Karen Reed. Like that's the smoking gun. Here's the problem. Is that the experts are going to disagree about this. Now there's someone from the FBI, and we'll get into the whole federal aspect of this, who agrees that's a 2:30 search.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. All the way from
Obviously, the defense expert's going to say it's a 2:30 search, but apparently prosecutors will have an expert come in and say, no, that search was actually done at 6:30 in the morning, when Karen Reed told her to search for that on her phone because they found him lying in the snow. So was this search done at 6:30 or 2:30? I always thought these issues were very straightforward with, digital evidence like you find on your phone. But these experts are going to disagree. And I'm shocked. I'm shocked that this is an issue, but it is one of the biggest issues in the case. Because if the jury believes that it's at 2:30, the search, I feel like it would be impossible to convict her. But if this other expert somehow comes across more credible, or what he's saying makes more sense to the jury, then maybe they don't believe that. But the defense is convinced, absolutely convinced, that this search was done at 2:30.
2:20.
Yes, Starlar, absolutely. You have to take notes for this one. I'm telling you, it's this layered, it's this deep, and I'm just giving you like the
surface layer,
just some of the headlines
Right.
across the top, so you have some context and foundation
right
for this trial. And this one, for whatever reason, has been a little bit under the radar. This case has been a little bit under the radar. Like, I've known about this case since it happened, and it just got more and more.
Listen, everybody in relationships argue and fight. That doesn't make Karen Reed a killer. And I'm going to ask all of you this, and I'm sure that the defense is going to raise this question as well. What is the motive? What would Karen Reed's motive be to kill John O'Keefe? Are they going to try to spin this that she's some jealous lover? They're not married, so there's no life insurance policy. As far as we know, John didn't have any major money that was going to be left to Karen. She's not in his will. I'm just trying to think of like other things. There's no motive. What is the motive? That she's just crazy and got angry that she didn't want to go to a party? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Where and what is the motive? That's where I'm going to have probably one of the times that I'm going to laugh my ass off, is when the Commonwealth is going to try to explain the motive in this case. I think they're going to have a very hard time explaining the motive. Yeah, there isn't one. What is the motive? What is the motive? I mean, if you fight with a boyfriend or girlfriend or your significant other, what do? You break up. You don't go and I'm going to wait and strategically just wait until John gets out. And I'm going to strategically pull up just magically at 62 feet, ram on the accelerator in reverse and back up over him and leave. It doesn't make any sense. Absolutely makes no sense.
Layered, complicated, and interesting to follow as more things developed, and we heard more in the courtroom and outside of the courtroom. Now, here's the other part of the case, is what has happened. Karen Reed has become a folk hero. There's a local, they call him a blogger, but he's on YouTube. His name is Turtle Boy, and he's covered this case in depth, and he has a lot of followers and has been going through the evidence. There's hundreds of videos, and there are hundreds and hundreds of people who believe Karen Reed is innocent and being wrongfully prosecuted, and they show up at the courthouse. They show up at the courthouse and cheer for her and support her every time, like at pretrial motions. This doesn't happen. I mean, this does not happen. People don't show up to a courthouse to protest and support someone accused of murdering a great guy like John O'Keefe. That just doesn't happen. But they feel this is injustice. They believe this is a police cover-up, a conspiracy, and an attempt to frame an innocent woman. And they believe it passionately. Okay. She has tormented the victim's family friends. I stand for the O'Keefe family. You look the other way. I don't know if you're talking to me or not, but I've said from the beginning, and if you watch my show, I have continuously said, I don't know what the truth is here. The truth needs to come out in the courtroom. And we've put on all the evidence for both sides, everything that's filed in court. We have shown in their entirety all of the hearings, the pretrial hearings, so everyone can hear both sides of this. And Karen Reed's presumed innocent, and the burden is on the prosecution to prove the case beyond any and all reasonable doubt. And in this case, the defense says this woman is wrongfully accused and we know who did it. So despite the fact that they have no burden, they've placed some level of a burden on themselves to prove something in that courtroom. Now, legally, you have no burden to prove anything. But it seems like they are going to carry that burden somewhat into the courtroom. Now, for me, it's about justice. I'm a former prosecutor, and justice means one thing and one thing only: the truth. The truth to come out inside the courtroom. Now, there's some troubling facts that are taking place here in terms of the investigation and the way things have progressed here. Is for some reason, and again, that's debated as well, there's been an independent federal investigation of the investigators in this case, in an ongoing murder case. That's unusual. Very unusual. I mean, the only times we've seen that sometimes are in cases that are racially charged or allegations of something along those lines. And I've seen those cases where the feds have come in and said, oh, is there a civil rights violation here? We're investigating that. But this is a little different. Like, this is a very ordinary murder case, right? When I say ordinary, I mean there was no, like, we've had cases like this before: boyfriend, girlfriend, spouses with allegations of murder. And never have I seen a federal investigation inserted in this. The only time I've seen the feds get involved in cases, which is like in Derek Chauvin and the George Floyd case, Ahmaud Arbery, the case in Georgia, and other cases around the country, they're usually racially charged, and there's some pressure on the feds to come in and take a look at the local police to see if they were investigating things properly. But never in a case like this have I seen that. So where exactly are we in all of this? Well, what I want to play for you is, before I get to that, there's a moment inside. Let me see if I can find it. Because I said this is unlike any case I've ever covered. And I've covered a trial before in that same courthouse in Dedham, Massachusetts. And let's see, is that this one? Let's see. Okay. And that was, okay, I want to show you this. I don't remove it because this moment was unlike any moment I've ever seen in a courtroom. And like I said, I've been in this courtroom. And again, she's been accused of murdering a police officer, right? So she's an accused cop killer. That's who Karen Reed is, right? They're not saying it's an accident. They're saying this is on purpose. And I've never seen someone like that have this level of support and this level of what's happening at the courthouse. Like, these supporters are showing up. And watch what happened when she walked into the courtroom at one of her hearings. Hold on a second. Let me fix my audio.
I'm going to give you my opinion really quick on this. Yeah, I think that the reason people pull to this so much, and the reason that people stand behind Karen so much, is this: that it is so obvious that what is going on in Canton. I mean, we're hearing more things that are going on. I mean, look at Sandra Birchmore, okay? But it's so obvious the corruption that it's involved in this case. And I think it gives the opportunity for people to fight back. Maybe a lot of these people that are involved in the Free Karen Reed movement have had to deal with just shit through their whole life. People stepping on them, pushing them down, calling them nobodies, and this is the first opportunity where they have in their life to stand up and express themselves without anybody being able to hold them back. Here's a woman that's being falsely accused of murdering a police officer. And the truth is so inevitable in this. I mean, it's right there in your face. And you're having a system that is continuing to push and push and push and put this innocent woman behind bars. And I think for the first time, it's empowered people to be able to stand up and say, you know what? This is wrong. And shit maybe like this has happened to me before. Or maybe someone pushed me down, or someone suppressed me, or told me not to speak up, or, told me I was no good, or whatever it may be. But now you have the opportunity to stand up, speak up, and say something. Hey, you know what? This shit is wrong. And what's happening to this young lady is wrong. And someone needs to look into it. And I think that's empowered people to do this. And that's why I think that this case has become very popular here, especially here in Massachusetts, because there is a lot of police corruption in Massachusetts. Just look at all the Whitey Bulger shit and all the other things that have gone on here. But all right, let's keep playing through here. Kind of my take.
One moment.
It is, like Spencer said, it could happen to any one of us. I think Vinny's having some technical issues.
I cannot hear what's going on in the air here. Different. And the aggressive nature of the defense in pointing fingers at specific people before the trial. Before the trial. Sometimes, the defense kind of whips this stuff out during the course of the trial, trying to put the prosecution on their heels. But that's not where they are in this. They're doing it ahead of time.
I don't think it's going to make any of them look good. If you're talking about witnesses, they get Jen McCabe on the stand and she pleads the fifth. I don't think that's going to make her look very innocent. Why do you not want to talk? How's a jury going to look at that?
Time. It's just not done. It's just not done that way. Again, makes this so different.
I mean, I guess I'm old school. If I know I didn't do anything, I want that opportunity to get on that stand and say, hey, I didn't do it, or a witness. If you have nothing to hide, then get out there and say it. I mean, for me, if I didn't do anything, I'd be out there just like Karen on those courtroom steps, giving that statement. I did not hit John O'Keefe. We know who did it. We know who did it.
Give me 1 second. I have to.
We know who did it.
Be able to monitor the sound, and I'm just.
All right, Vinny's got
trying to find.
I'm going to speed up here a little.
Why
bit.
this is not working?
Here we go.
We know who did it.
Albert is involved. Massachusetts State Police is involved.
I have tried to outline what they're alleging here, but
Massachusetts State Police is involved. There are people that were in that house that are involved. Brian Albert is involved. Jennifer McCabe is involved. The rest of the folks that were in that house, there's some level of involvement by every one of them.
It feels we're the only ones fighting for the truth of what happened to John O'Keefe. And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. It just feels like no one else wants it.
Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
This game is over. We know what happened inside the house. We just don't know who struck the fatal blow. And the prosecution, it doesn't seem to want to get to the bottom of it. We're trying to.
On a Friday night in January 2022, Karen Reed and her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, joined friends for drinks.
We were happy, having fun, laughing. Just very normal.
Did you ever feel you were overserved that night, as they say?
No.
When she woke early, John wasn't there. She went out searching and 6 a.m. found him lying unresponsive in the snow and bitter cold in front of the home where she dropped him.
His eyes were swollen shut. He had blood dripping out of his nose.
She blurted out her thoughts as first responders arrived. Did you say, I wonder if I hit him? Did I kill him?
I said, could I have hit him?
What does the defense believe actually happened to John after Karen dropped him off?
I think he walked into the house. I think he was confronted, was likely brought down to the basement. I think.
Whoa, I've never seen this video from Nightline. I've never seen this.
That confrontation got physical, and he was beaten. He was beaten to a point of unconsciousness. He's got some defensive wound bruises on the backs of his hand. He's got this massive laceration on the back of his head, a big giant gash, about 2.5 inches, exactly lateral, going from left to right. 2 black eyes, cut over his right eye, cut over his nose. This was a cover-up that John was murdered inside that house.
Okay, so those are the allegations. Really specific, like naming people. Naming people that are responsible.
I've never seen
according
that
to the
part.
defense. Now you have to put this all in perspective. You put the pieces together. They're alleging some level of coordination between the people in the house, the responders who were investigating, and when you follow it all the way through, there's the Google search
confirmed by the FBI
that they're saying was done at 2:30.
No, not they. The FBI.
But
is
then when
saying.
you look at some of the forensics in the case, the taillight, DNA, they're going to allege that it's actually planted evidence. Not like misinterpreted, not like overlooked. Now they didn't know that some of this evidence that's being used against Karen Reed in this prosecution was actually planted. So the level of the coordination is a massive cover-up frame of Karen Reed. And that's what they're saying. So this is going to play out as the case against Karen Reed is playing out, because it'll play out through the cross-examination of witnesses. The defense often makes their case. In most cases, they usually don't have any evidence, but they try to make their case and put it together while they're cross-examining the state's witnesses as the state is trying to put their case together. And again, it gets back to my headline. This is a trial you must see. Many of the cases on court TV, the defense is, they can't prove it. The evidence just isn't there. Right? And that's because of the way our system's set up with the burden of proof. And that's a legitimate defense, but it's not a search for the truth by both sides, right? Like here, both sides say, we know what happened. We're going to show you in court what happened. The evidence is going to show you what happened here. Not they can't prove it. No, we're going to show you what really happened here. That's, again, what makes this case so different. The public reaction and the scene at the courthouse. Every time, dozens and dozens of people with signs, etc., at pre-trial hearings, not even at the trial. Like they're having emotion. Like emotion for whatever. Like these things in most cases are very ordinary courtroom appearances. And so the lawyers show up, the defendant shows up, no one's in the gallery. Sometimes if it's a big case, the news is there. Sometimes they're not even there. This one, again, is different. And I don't know why the troll mafia believes that I have a stake in all of this. Why do you support this egregious level? I don't support witness intimidation. Like, I don't.
Oh, boy.
What I do is report on everything that's happening.
Oh, boy.
And open the microphones to all sides of every case, like I always do. It's just that it's rare that the defense speaks. They spoke to me, they spoke to ABC, they spoke to NBC. Prosecutors speak through their charging documents. I mean, they rarely talk once the case has been indicted, because ethically, in most jurisdictions, and every jurisdiction has slightly different rules. In most jurisdictions, prosecutors don't speak. They'll speak in a very limited fashion after the trial.
It is, yes.
Sometimes they'll make an announcement when there's an arrest or charges, and they'll talk about what those charges are. but they're sort of hamstrung by what they can say. And in this case, and in most cases, the defense is not. And in this case, the defense spoke a lot. The prosecution also spoke, addressing all of these issues and accusing the defense and indicting Turtle Boy for witness intimidation, for the protests and the allegations and the bullhorns and the showing up at the house. And the man who was leading the protests in this case is now being prosecuted by the same office that's prosecuting Karen Reed.
It's insane.
Which again is another reason why you must watch this case. I mean, one or two, well, there's like three outcomes here. There's three potential outcomes. One is she's convicted and it's over. Like, she's convicted, like she'll appeal, etc. But like, okay, she's convicted. The jury has spoken. They believe exactly what the prosecution has alleged here. Now you can have a not guilty, which means 12 people agreed prosecutors didn't prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt, which then sort of opens the door to, well, if they didn't believe this happened, what do they believe? If the jury speaks afterwards, which they're permitted to do, are they going to tell us that they believe the defense theory, or are they going to say, well, they're just...
Pierre, thank you so much for the Cash App. I appreciate that. Thank you. $5 on Cash App. Thank you. Says journalism is not a crime. You're 100% correct. Journalism is not a crime. Now, what do they say? The pen is mightier than the sword. Thank you so much, Pierre.
This wasn't enough. I don't know. We thought the defense theory was a strong possibility or a reasonable alternative explanation for what happened. And that's why they voted not guilty. Or you could have a hung jury where the jury can't agree. Like these attorneys can't agree. Like the public so far can't agree as to what happened here. So, and I don't know, like if you watch my show, I say every time, because I know of the emotions and the passion that people have on both sides of this case. I'm just in search of the truth. And to me, the more we hear, the better we have an opportunity to understand the truth in a case.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, inside a courtroom, there are limitations by the rules
it.
of evidence, hearsay, and other rules that come up during the course of a case. So the jury doesn't get to see and hear.
Liz, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I appreciate the support. Thank you. I appreciate the support. Thank you so much. Keeps the lights on in the studio. Keeps the lights on in the new studio. I cannot wait to have that built out. Casey and I are going tomorrow to start putting furniture together. I'm gonna do a live tomorrow, members only live tomorrow from the studio. Will be essentially the first live in the new studio, but it's not set up yet. But we're gonna start putting furniture together tomorrow, and I can give you some updates on some of the furniture that I bought, some of the visions that I have for it. And I'm hoping that it's going to be all built before the trial, because I think it's going to be great to do that in there. And then as the trial goes on, I can have people in like Tom. Maybe I can get Turtle Boy in. We'll have Rita come in. That's my plan. So it's going to be, I'm so excited. I'm super, super excited. It's going to be great. And the paint we picked is like amazing. It's really cool. So we'll get there. We'll get there. Liz, again, with the 5. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you, Liz. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for the support. Like I said, it keeps the lights on in the new studio. And if you're not a member, you need to become a member, because I'm doing all the behind the scenes footage for members only. All you got to do is go down there and click the join button and just join for $1.99 a month. That'll get you membership access to all my members only content. That's kind of the behind the scenes stuff. All right, let's keep playing through. We got about another 30 or so, and we'll be out of this. Thank you for being here.
Everything, but the public certainly can and can consider everything. And what's happening in this case is one of two things. Well, it could be three things, because, it could be that she did it on purpose. It could be that she'd been drinking. She didn't even realize that she did it. And it was an accident that may in fact be criminal in nature, right? Because accidents can be criminal. That's the allegation against Alec Baldwin. It's the same thing. Some level of manslaughter. Those two results can happen, or what happened here is that she was wrongfully accused.
Thank you, Liz.
Our system is
Great.
set up
Thank you.
so that guilty people go free before one innocent person is convicted. So,
And to let you know too, I do other cases on here. I plan on getting back into the Idaho 4 case this week. There's been some new updates. I've been covering the Diddy stuff over here. So I do a plethora of topics here. I don't just do Karen Reed, but this is obviously very near and dear to my heart. The time that I've put into it, I've been down to the courthouse on days to help go out and support. And, I've been very close to this case. It happens 15 minutes from, 20 minutes from my house. So, of course, I've been supporting that. And Maureen is right. Karen's case won't last forever. I hope we don't have to talk about it forever. I hope that she walks out of that courtroom an innocent woman and goes on with her life, and then we can have, some celebration streams at the end. I'm confident that will happen, but we'll just unfortunately have to go through this stupid process and complete waste of time, in my opinion. Liz, thank you so much for joining as a member. I appreciate that. I thank you so much. I just had another support come through Buy Me a Coffee. Nelly, thank you for the 5 on Buy Me a Coffee. If anybody wants to support, you can see all my supportive links going through the chat. Nightbot is dropping them. My moderators are dropping them. I appreciate it. The studio has been a lot of money to build that out. So I appreciate all the support. It keeps the lights on in the studio. And you're all going to be wowed. I'm telling you, we're all going to be wowed once this thing is up and done. Oh, I'm so excited. All right, let's get through this. Let's get through it.
the deck is stacked for defendants in our system of justice. It just is. And you learn that when you're a prosecutor. Now, I'll just address one more part of, oh, wait, here we go. We have more. One more part of the.
Real quick, I just want to get to this. Carrie, thank you so much. Carrie K, thank you so much for the 10 on Cash App. I appreciate it. Or it might have been Venmo. Says, thank you and look forward to the studio lives. Your streams are awesome. Hashtag free Karen Reed, hashtag free Turtle Boy, and hashtag LTL rocks. Thank you so much for the support. I do appreciate it. All right, let's try to get through this. Thank you. I appreciate the support. Let's go. Vinny. Take it home, Vinny.
Complications of this case, right? Because the defense is saying they want justice for John O'Keefe. But from their perspective, justice for John O'Keefe means Karen Reed didn't do it, someone else did it. And they believe the truth is somewhere else. It's not what prosecutors think. It's not what any of the investigators who took a look at this case believe.
You're right, Maureen.
They believe justice for John O'Keefe is Karen Reed being convicted. But what justice really is,
born and raised,
is the truth. Which is, and again, this is the difference between the prosecution and the defense in every case. The ethical obligation of prosecutors is justice.
So I'm not clear, Sarah. It says, wait, where do you join? Where is the button for it? If you're talking about a membership, you're already a member. That's what that little green circle is next to your name. As far as members only lives, those will pop up just like a regular live. And only members will have access to that. So that was my promise to my members. I'll do all the behind the scenes stuff so you can see what's going on before the subscribers get to see the first live in there. So, all right, let's keep playing. When was this video from? About 10 days ago, Nick. About 10 days ago. Yeah, it was about 10 days ago, Nick. So it is a little old. I've been meaning to do this stream, but I've been so busy building out the studio And maybe I can get Nick in sometime. Nick, I'd love to have you come into the studio and talk about the Karen Reed trial with us. Be great for you to come in. All right. Let's get through this.
Seeking the truth. The ethical obligation of every defense attorney is to protect their client. And I've talked about this many, many, many times in different contexts. But if you apply that to this case, this DA, right, who's been attacked, his ethical obligation is not to just win a case. His ethical obligation is to the truth, whatever it is and wherever it leads him. And he believes, and I saw him make his announcement, his video that he released, passionately believes that the truth to him is very obvious as to what happened here based upon all the evidence. And you need to have that firm belief to charge someone. That is your ethical obligation. Now, on the other side of the coin, the defense in this case and in every case has zero obligation to the truth. There's no ethical obligation to the truth. That is not their job. That's not their role. Our system could not work that way. It couldn't work. Their job and ethical obligation is to do everything that is legal in the defense of.
I'm just going to post this up. Nick saying, if anybody wants to be on the SJC motion, send me your number and email and reason for protesting. I will sign that, Nick. I will get you my information after the stream. I'll send that over to you. Do you have an email address, or how do you want them to contact you, Nick? Let us know, and I'll get that over. I will be on that petition, believe me. So just let me know. How do you want to get those names and signatures on Facebook Messenger? Perfect. I'll reach out to you after, Nick. Nick, listen, I'd love to have you come in sometime once I get the studio up and running, probably in another week. If you're interested in doing it, come in the studio, hang out. Love to talk to you one-on-one. Christine, thank you so much for becoming a member, part of the Rookie Detective team. I appreciate that. Thank you. I will send you my message. All right, let's get through Vinnie.
Their client and their client's interests.
It's close.
So
it is in it's in Rentham. It's right near the stadium. It's right on Route 1.
You hear in courtrooms day in and day out around our country, and I've been listening to them for decades, arguments made by defense attorneys that not necessarily based in truth. And I've seen cases where they've explored different avenues of defenses, trying to find one that might resonate with the jury. Well, could have been this, could have been that, could have been this guy, could have been that guy. And they're permitted to do that under our system of justice. So the defense here is doing nothing wrong, but understand that ethically.
It's funny. I travel through Canton quite a bit. And when I always go through Canton, it's like I take my hat off, or I'm like hiding my face. Like, I can't be seen going through downtown. They'll get me.
As a lawyer who is a defense lawyer, you can say the evidence shows this, and that, even if in your heart of hearts you don't necessarily believe that. Now, in this case, they're saying they believe it, but you don't ethically have to. But a prosecutor does. And when a prosecutor goes after someone and the case is not based in fact or is motivated by something other than the truth, they get into trouble. Like the guy who went after the lacrosse players in North Carolina years ago.
Yep.
Got into big trouble because he was motivated by the politics of everything.
Yep.
Trying to get reelected. thought it'd be popular to go after the Duke lacrosse players, even though that wasn't the truth. And he
Yeah.
was hiding evidence, etc.
Super hide.
So, but those are some of the allegations here that are being made by this defense team. So I don't know if the
And
truth.
they tried to make it a racial issue too. I mean, on top of all the shit that they were hiding, they tried to make that a racial issue too. That was insane. Go, if you haven't seen that, go look up the Duke lacrosse team case. If you want your mouth to drop of all the shit that went on in that case, holy shit.
Truth is, I got to hear the evidence. I got to see the witnesses. I've got to see them cross-examined. I want to hear the experts. I want to know what the experts' background is. And I want to hear their explanations here, because you're going to have a battle of the experts when it comes to the medical examiners and the autopsy and the injuries on John O'Keefe, what they mean, what story they tell. You're going to have experts debating digital evidence from phones. So it 1 second, getting a text message. I have to check that. Okay.
It's probably the producer. Shut up. It's probably his boss. Get off that damn live. Shut up.
So it's not clear, right? So it's not clear until you get inside of a courtroom, testify, get cross-examined, and then you make a judgment based upon, all right, how does that jive with the rest of the evidence? What evidence is sort of irrefutable? And I've posed this question, right? When it comes to the truth in the case, right? Like, what's the actual truth? Not can they prove it, but what is the truth of what actually happened? And I've asked this of my guests. I said, okay, you're a former prosecutor. I'm a former prosecutor. You could prosecute the people in the house, or you could prosecute Karen Reed. Where's there more evidence? Which of those two roads is there more evidence? Which case, like if you wanted to pick one of those cases to try inside a courtroom, which one do you think you could win as a prosecutor? And I've answered that question on the air. I said the Karen Reed case obviously is a stronger case for the prosecution. And if prosecutors went into the courtroom trying to prove this conspiracy, that case would be over in 2 minutes, because whoever you were charging in this conspiracy would point the finger at Karen Reed and say, well, what about this evidence, that evidence, this? And that's like reasonable doubt in 5 seconds. And you could also argue that, well, that's the way the case was investigated. You know, they didn't uncover everything. Okay, well, as it stands right now, based upon what's been made public so far, if you're looking at 2 files, one file is the case against the people in the house and all the investigators afterwards, and the other file is against Karen Reed. Obviously, there's more evidence in the Karen Reed file. Obviously. But now you got to try the case. And there are cases that we've covered on Court TV where there's you don't know. At the end of it, you just don't know what happened because of all the other issues and reasonable doubt that exist. You don't know. Even if you believe you know, you don't actually know. And in the case Tara Grinstead, this woman from Ocilla, Georgia, was a teacher. She was a beauty pageant contestant, real nice woman, disappeared, never found. And years later, after a podcast, up and vanished, a guy named Bo Dukes comes forward and says, I helped get rid of the body. And it was Duke that did it. So it was Dukes and Duke, right? Ryan Duke and Bo Dukes. They weren't related, but they went to high school together. And prosecutors, based upon what Bo Dukes told them and the other evidence in the case, went after Ryan Duke. But when Ryan Duke was being tried, He got convicted of disposing of the body with Bo Dukes, but at the end of the day, the jury didn't know which one of them actually committed the ultimate crime. So no one was ever held responsible. I mean, is that possible here? I mean, it's a different case. But sometimes the evidence is just that way. That there's not enough on either.
Patrick, thank you so much for becoming part of the rookie detective team. Thank you so much. And thank you for the support and becoming a member. I appreciate it. Helps keep the lights on in the new studio. Thank you so much. Thanks for being part of the team. You get access again if you didn't hear earlier. You get access to all my members only contents on my homepage. Just scroll all the way down to the bottom. Get access to all the members only lives. And I've been revealing little by little as I've been building out my brand new studio. I'm going to be revealing all the updates. There's a video already there right now if you haven't seen it. And tomorrow night, I'll be actually back in the studio putting furniture together. We just got the paint done, and you'll be able to see the first kind of, I guess, practice live from the new studios. We'll see the furniture we got, and we'll be doing some work in there tomorrow. So thank you. Appreciate that. All right, we got about another 15 minutes or so, and we're going to wrap this up.
Either road to prove it to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt, which is such a high standard, such a high burden. But to believe that the defense theory is reasonable, you are going to have to believe that there is a coordinated effort by law enforcement and the people in the house to frame and plant evidence regarding Karen Read. That's their case. Based upon what I've seen and heard so far in the courtroom and the interviews that I've done, that's the bottom line to all of this.
Because Stone Cold said so.
That is the bottom line. A juror, to find reasonable doubt on that theory, will have to believe that that theory is reasonable. And we'll see. We'll see what the evidence shows. Like if you have text messages or some level of coordination between these people who are alleged to be part of the conspiracy, then maybe the jury buys it. Maybe that is the truth if you have that evidence. So there's no legal burden on the defense here. There's going to be a burden on them to try to tie some of those pieces together in order for a juror to say, okay, that's an alternative, reasonable explanation as to what happened to Officer John O'Keefe. That's where you have to, and again, I'll get back to my premise here. I'm not trying the case from one side or the other. What I'm telling you is laying out what this trial is going to look like. And it's going to look like unlike any other case in the history of court TV.
Stephanie, I'm going to pause this real quick. Stephanie, thank you so much for gifting out 5 memberships. That's very kind of you. These members will get 1 month free on you. Thank you. And if your membership, just keep in mind, if you get a free membership, the end of the membership, if you could, just re-up it. You just join the $199 membership. It keeps the lights on here in the channel. So LJ was gifted. B Legend was gifted. Let's see. Kim Chi was gifted. Boy MA was gifted. Nelly Rolls was gifted. And thank you. That was very kind. Appreciate that. All right, let's keep rolling through. I just looked up at the vote at the top. Is Vinnie Team Karen or Team Commonwealth? 305 votes. 86% of you say Team Karen. Only 14% say Team Commonwealth.
Because of the passion, because of what has happened in the lead up to this trial, the people involved, and the cross allegations. This is more. I mean, you see cross allegations in civil cases, right? I'm suing you for this. Well, you're suing me for that. I'm going to counter sue you for that. That's kind of what the defense is doing here. You're going to charge her with murder. Well, we're going to accuse you of committing this murder and covering it up and framing her. Now, I was trying to, I was thinking back, and if there's ever been a case where it's been proven at trial that that someone was framed by law enforcement, and I cannot recall one in the history of court TV. Now, there are cases where, one defendant is framed by another defendant, right? Like I've seen those. I don't think I've ever seen it in this context and to this level. Now, the problem for prosecutors is that the feds, like the Department of Justice, the FBI, is doing an investigation of the investigators here. And the results of their investigation are being shared with the prosecution and defense. When has that ever happened? Like during the course in the buildup to a murder trial, which is going to happen in April.
Well, real quick, I'm just going to pause this. Look at this name, Captain Skid Marks. Wow. Captain Skid Marks has become a new member. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it. Oh, that name cracks me up all the time.
At the same time, the feds are investigating the people who investigated the defendant and then sharing all that information. This is bizarro world. It's never happened. Never, ever, 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 ever happened. Let's see. Jennifer McCabe did nothing wrong. And yeah, like she's not accused of anything, but she's being accused by the defense. And we'll see what the defense shows up with. Yes, Gen X, I get it. I get it.
No.
Okay.
No, there was hardly anybody there from what I understand. From what I heard and what I understand.
Let's see. Why don't you speak about the forensic facts like DNA? I did. Here's the thing about this. I'm not trying this case for both sides. I'm giving everyone this view. If you've been watching the video, I said from the beginning, this is extremely layered, extremely detailed. This case.
So much.
And I think in the comments, apparently you're seeing the passions on both sides here. And I get it. No one likes being accused of something they didn't do. Whether you're a defendant, if you didn't do it, or you're just an innocent member of the public connected to the victim in the case. You don't like it. Now, what's interesting is, one second. I spoke with Ben Chu, who's an expert in defamation law, libel law. He was the guy who represented Johnny Depp. And I presented this story to him, and he talked about because people are being accused of doing things here. And inside a courtroom, everything is pretty much protected. It's protected.
Yeah, right, lady?
Speech. And I guess it has to be for our system to function. Like, I guess the defense or prosecution can make these accusations. But when those statements and accusations are made outside of a courtroom, then it's a different case. And I'm wondering if there'll be, that part of the case. Thanks for your objective coverage, freeing Karen, a step towards justice. See, Deanna, I mean, people seeing this thing differently, and I get it. I get why people are seeing it differently. Yes, I have. I have had people on my show on both sides of this story and this case. I absolutely have. And Robin, thank you. Robin from New Hampshire. Very heated today, very heated. And anytime you cover this story, like when we do this trial every day, my direct messages are going to blow up. Yeah, I get it. I get it. So this trial's coming up in April on Court TV. You will see it. You will hear all the evidence, and you make a decision. And hopefully, at the end of the case, there will be a verdict, one way or the other, rather than a split on the jury, the way members of the public and the folks in the chat rooms and everywhere else are apparently split on this one. Body was on the front lawn, about 8 feet in. About 8 feet in is the way it's been described. Mel Carter saying the injuries don't match. Again, you're going to have experts talking about that. You're going to have experts talking about that. And they're not going to agree. And it's not unusual in a case that you're going to have, in most cases where there's expert testimony, there's usually an expert on both sides. So this is where the jury has to listen to what the experts say, evaluate the experts' level of experience in all of this, and then see how it matches up with the other evidence in the case. And that's oftentimes what I've seen jurors do, is they'll look at what this expert said, what that expert said, and then look at the independent evidence. It doesn't go one way or the other. That is what it is. That is not really up for interpretation, and says, okay, does this expert's opinion match that evidence? Or does the other expert's opinion match that evidence? And we saw experts in the Murdoch case. And Kenny Kinsey was, the way he talked, the way he explained it, just oozed of credibility. And the jury understood that. And I think the folks who watched the trial understood it. And ultimately, Murdoch was convicted. That case was not as big a case about expert testimony, but it was a facet of it. This case, much bigger. Much bigger. People think I'm paid to do this. I am not paid by anyone to do anything other than do my television show, in which for decades we've been doing. All right. Julie Grant has it right.
What's he doing? Reading his chat? I like when he goes.
Just trolling, not trolling. I'm not trolling, but people are trolling. I'm scrolling through some of the. You need mods. That's true.
We're all paid.
All right, folks. I got to wrap it up here. I've got another podcast I've got to do. I'm actually a guest on that one.
I got to get Vinny
Katie
on
has
the
her
show.
blood
Vinny,
on
come
top of
over
the
here
snow
and
if you
join
died when
LTL.
Karen Reed left.
Come on, Vinny. Come on the show. Let's get Vinny over here. Vinny, come do the show. Come do like an hour with me. Let's talk some Karen Reed.
That's going to be another issue. It snowed after Karen Reed, I believe. So that's more expert testimony there, Lauren. More expert testimony on this one. I wouldn't say it's a weird case. I would say it's an unusual case. And unlike any case we've ever covered. This is amazing. This is amazing. I'm just reading some of these comments. Like, okay, we're gonna get them. We're gonna get those moderators, JN, for sure. This is interesting because this just happened. They want to create a buffer zone outside of the courthouse. I've seen that done in other cases. It's been done in other cases where they set up a zone for protesters. Usually there's protesters on both sides of a case, but there's the balance of the First Amendment freedom of expression, but then they've got to keep things safe. And they also have to, in this case, in Dedham, Massachusetts, protect the jury. Now, the last trial I covered in Dedham, the jury would meet, because it was high profile as well, the jury would meet at an undisclosed location. The deputies would pick up that jury and then bring the jury in and sort of not sneak them in, but bring them into the courthouse. And that's this small town courthouse. You know, there's a couple doors, as I recall, a front entrance and a back entrance to get into the courthouse. So we'll see how they handle that. I think they may create some restrictions on where you can be. I think they've done that already.
Listen, I'm gonna comment, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of people coming after me here. Okay, I'm gonna get a lot of people coming after me. Mazza, I love you. And I know you're probably going to be, I know people in here are going to go, what? I think I'm going to be so out of the popular vote here. I think college sports, except in college basketball, the last 10 seconds of a college basketball game is boring. I know. Come at me. I know, but I can't get into it. I cannot get into college sports. Sorry, but God bless you. If you're into it, I think it's awesome. Just can't do it. Can't do it. Cannot do it. I can't. People are gonna be what? Right? I'm right though. The last 10 seconds of a college basketball game is literally the most exciting part of the game. You just watch the last 10 seconds and you figure the whole game out. I just can't do it though. But God bless them. They're great athletes. They go on. Most of them go on to be pros, which is great. All right, let's get through this here. I just got the hands going. Hands are just
but
going.
I don't know if they're going to try to put them across the street.
Yes,
but I have seen that in other cases.
Yes.
You know, in the build-up to the Derek Chauvin, George Floyd case, they built places for people to be. The same happened in Ahmaud Arbery, although in that case, they were much closer to the courtroom. It's a safety thing for the witnesses, for the jury, and everything else. So that's the balance that the court will have to do. But I think there will be,
I'm sure it was,
some restrictions and some parameters set up for where folks can be by the courthouse.
I'm going to double this.
Which is more common, again, I would say, in cases where you're talking about a racially charged trial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is good. People, you start insulting, people don't hear you. Billy, how are you, Billy? I'll tell you what's up. Everybody got all upset today. And that tells you the nature, Billy, of this trial that you must watch on Court TV. People are arguing this.
Moderators. Poor Vinny.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I got to get on that.
This is amazing. I think I saw that movie, right? The Departed, right? You get Boston Police had but this isn't Boston Police. This is Canton and the Massachusetts State Police. This was not investigated by the Boston Police.
Thank you,
despite the fact that they had a little history there with, I think, Whitey and everyone else, and the local FBI had problems there as well. I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of history there. This is a little different than that type.
Vinny has mods now. Good.
Hello, Maria. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us. I don't know. Yeah. Well, we shall see. We shall see.
All right, I think we got pretty much everything here. It's about another 7 minutes. I think it's just going to be him pulling up a lot of the his chat and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it was great to go over it a little bit of just Vinnie unfiltered. I thought he had some great points there, and like I said, just approached it very, very neutral. If you want to watch the video on its own without my commentary, I'll drop that in the chat, and also it's down there in the description as well. I want to give full credit to Vinnie Politian for talking about this obviously on Core TV, but going through it, and go over, subscribe to his channel. We love Vinnie. We love Vinnie. I like Vinnie. I've always liked Vinnie. Mazmi says Vinnie knows Karen Reed is innocent, and the cover up is at foot. Core TV producers seem to be the real problem. A lot of the panel members are skeptics. I have to agree, but I like Vinnie. Let's take a look at the poll. Let's end the poll here at the top. We had 330 votes. I appreciate that. I asked the question at the very beginning of the show. What did you think? Did you think Vinnie was team Karen or team Commonwealth? And 85% of you voted team Karen, and 14% voted team Commonwealth. So I appreciate that. Okay, well, I'm going to end up, excuse me, actually, I just got through. Oh, this was funny. Check this out. I just got this. Wait, I lost the link. I was going to pull up a story real quick, but I lost the link. Where's the link? Where is the link? Ah, look at this. My Brockton school. Brockton school. Look at this. Senseless violence. 14-year-old stabbed in armed robbery near Brockton school. 14s charged. And I'm not saying that it happened at the school or during the school. It says 14s are under arrest after allegedly stabbing and robbing a juvenile near a high school in Brockton on Friday night. The violence there, unfortunately, continues. That board does not give a shit about the education, does not care about the safety of those students. I have been peeking in on the school committee streams, and they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. All they care about is, we need more money, we need more money, we need more money. I'm so exhausted over it that I just haven't been doing them. I haven't been doing the lives on Brockton High School. Maybe it's something I need to get back into. Maybe I need to fucking go down there some night and start actually talking to people and seeing what they think. But yes, my friends, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight on LTL True Crime. Thanks for participating in the stream. I think I just had another donation come through. Let me just check that out real quick and read that off before I head out. Let's see. I had another dono come through. Renee, thank you so much for the 5 on Buy Me a Coffee. I appreciate it. It keeps the lights on, and it will keep the lights on in the new studio. So my friends, tomorrow night, if you are a member, you will get privilege probably around 8:30ish tomorrow. I'm going to do a quick live from the studio and do an update for all of you over there. I will be in the studio tomorrow night building some furniture, getting some lighting, putting together, and you'll be able to see the new color that we painted the room. Well, I didn't paint it. I had a friend of mine come in that owns a business, and I want to thank Dennis and Jeff for coming over last night and getting that paint on the wall so I could start putting the studio together. I'm very, very excited, and I want to try to get it together before the trial date starts. I also want to let everybody know I am actively right now being part of something a little bit bigger. I can't speak too much about it, but it is something possibility. I can't get too much into it, but I want to let you all know that something big may help happen for myself in the near future. We're working through the logistics of it all right now, but I just wanted to keep everybody informed. And I also have in the works some very special guests coming on the show, and that's being all worked out as well too. And then I want to start getting some real actual people live in the studio. I'd love to get Tom in there. I'd love to get Turtle Boy into the studio once it's up and built. And Nick, I just asked Nick if he wanted to come in sometime and talk. Anybody that I've had around and have taken part in the Karen Reed case, I'd love to have them come into the studio. So we'll start lining up some live guests once the studio's up and running. again, it's not going to be something where I have a live guest in every week. And that would be great if I could do that. But you never know what can happen. I think when you actually have a studio space, I think people, in my opinion, start taking it a little bit more serious. And, we'll start booking some live guests and get them in for appearances. It's going to take time. It doesn't happen overnight, but we've come into some really great, fortunate things over the last couple of months. And I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be happier. And, it's crazy that people are reaching out to me now and asking me if I will be part of things. And that's really exciting because I want this to be my life. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and be here and be able to stream and podcast and share my experiences and give that back to the world through my eyes. That's why y'all come here. We come here to chat, hang out, and get my opinion on a lot of these subjects. So again, tomorrow night, I will do a live from the studio space. You get to see us build some furniture and at least get to see the paint on the walls and some of the furniture that we put together. A badass table that's going to be in there when I have live guests come in and sit down. It's going to be pretty badass. So members only tomorrow. I promised all the members I will keep that all members only. If you want to see the behind scenes stuff, you can go down there, just click the join button below the chat, and you can take part of the members only lives. And I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And there will be big things hopefully happening soon here for LTL. I have some interest in some projects, upcoming projects coming up, and I will let you all know when I can start talking a little bit more about it. It's not set in stone. There's some legal paperwork I got to look through, but we'll get there. We'll get there. The channel is growing. And damn, I'm going to have my own space. That's pretty badass to get this out of my bedroom and into a studio. And I could not have done it without all of you, the support from the subscribers, the members, and the donators. I appreciate it. All right, everybody, I'm going to head out for tonight. I appreciate everybody being here. Yeah, Casey is not going to be on camera tomorrow. That's probably not going to happen, but you may hear her in the background. You may hear her in the background tomorrow. So Casey and I will be over. My lovely girlfriend will be over in the studio tomorrow putting that together. We are super excited. And I have to say, she has been an amazing supporter of mine since since the first day I met her and since we started dating. And it's been an amazing experience. She's done a lot for me. We've taken many, many trips in her Jeep to get things to that studio, but she never falters. She completely supports everything I do and, pushes me in the time that I don't want to do things. I'll be honest, I wasn't going to do this stream tonight, and she's like, no, you need to do it. And so I went ahead and did it, and I'm glad that I did it. And once I get through the stream, I feel a lot better on the other side, because sometimes you go into it and you don't want to stream, but she is my rock, and I don't know where I would be without her right now. So thank you. I appreciate it. She's pushed me to levels beyond levels that I wouldn't think. So anyway, Casey and I tomorrow will be in the studio. I appreciate all the support. And let's see. I just want to go up to some of these chats. Paula's checking out. Good night. Thank you, Pat, for being here. A new name. I don't think I've seen you before. Nelly Rolls. Love that name. Thank you. Tsunami says hubba hubba. Renee with the heart. Thank you. Great girl. She's a great girlfriend. She's amazing. Michelle O says, I love you both. Maybe one day we can get her on camera, but it's not going to be right now. Let's see. Rob says, Casey, you're a beautiful princess. Hopefully she will decide to shine, because I'm not sure it will be just benefit the both of you. Thank you. Sarah says, keep it up, guys. Behind every successful man is a woman who supports him. I truly believe that. Jody says, best wishes in your relationship. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. Make a beautiful couple. Thank you. Congrats, LTL and KC. Thank you. That's the kind of girl you need to marry. Oh, that's funny. Renee says, Brian, I grew up in Brockton, so scary. I met Marvin Hagler. That's awesome. As an adult, and wouldn't believe he was from Brockton. He was from Brockton. Let's see. That's it. Never forget your hustle and your hard work got you here. It did, and I've done a lot. You know, it's funny. We talked about it. Casey and I were talking about it the other night. We were actually driving back from IKEA and we grabbed some furniture. And I was like, I cannot believe how far I've come in a year, you know, and especially 3 years. I mean, the channel's been around like 3 years, but when I started to really put the hustle in, and it was the Idaho 4 case that really launched my channel and where I am now. It's insane. Go back and search out like my first streams. They're crazy. It's so night and day. And now getting into that studio and leveling up once again, I think is going to be really amazing. So it's all good stuff. And thank you. I appreciate it. You know, listen, I know there's a lot of streams that go on, but I appreciate all the hardcore members and subscribers that come here to watch me and keep the thing flowing over here. So I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. All right. I'm going to head out. I'm tired. I got a little bit of work to do before bed. Thank you all for being here. Support Microdots. Boom, right here. Shout out to Microdots. Support Microdots. Get Microdots merch. Subscribe to their Twitter account and go over and check out their YouTube channel. Good stuff. Good stuff on Karen Reed. If you have not watched it, go over and support Microdots. Boom. All right, everybody. I'm out. I'll be doing a live from the studio for members only tomorrow. Thank you for all being here. Next week, we'll do a little bit of Karen Reed. I'm going to jump back on the Idaho 4 case and do some Diddy content. I will be back. I'm sorry I've been streaming as frequently as I've been wanting to. It's just I have such a drive to get that studio up and running. The paint was really holding us back, but now the room has been painted. We've let it sit for 24 hours, and you're damn right. I'm going to be back in there just about every freaking waking moment that I have to get this studio up and running and get it built out. And I think you're all going to be super impressed when you see it, when it's finally fully revealed. All right, everybody, I'm going to head out. Thank you all for your support. Thank you for the super chats, all the new members that came in, all the people that supported through Cash App, Venmo, and Buy Me a Coffee. I love all of you. You're all amazing. And hell, man, we could not have done it without all of you. All right. Thank you. I'm going to hit the outro. Peace.
LTL true crime, we going deep in the dark. Yeah. Peeling back the layers, expose the hidden them up. Yeah. From the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie. Getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi. LTL true crime. Unraveling the web of evil. No stone left unturned. We dive into the crime. Yeah, we digging up the dirt, bringing justice to the crime. LTL true crime, unveiling dark realities of the crime. Unraveling the web of evil. No stone left unturned. We dive into the crime. Yeah, we digging